Hello and welcome. I'm Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations. Thank you for tuning in today. We're gonna do something just kind of fun and cute today. So just a little decorative item, to kind of zhuzh up your house, add a little bit of a summer touch, maybe as a little cute gift. It's kind of got a beachy, cottagey kind of feel to it. So what I've done is I have picked up some little pieces of driftwood I live right by Lake Ontario, so just from the shores of Lake Ontario, picked up some odd pieces of driftwood. Now you could do this with just a straight block of wood. I'm gonna leave these natural, but if you're using a block of wood, then you could just kind of roughly paint it, sand out the edges. You could do this on like a stone, do the same thing with a stone. You'll see where I'm going with it as we go, and then you can think of alternative bases if you don't have little pieces of driftwood. So I've got my driftwood. That's gonna be the base. Now what we wanna do is we wanna create some little buildings. So I have these little cast off ends just from other projects where we need to shorten the wood, and these are gonna be the perfect size. So I have just drawn a little bit of a cutting mark here, and you could take a handsaw, you could, if you're daring, do a chop saw. I don't trust my fingers close enough to it. You could use a scroll saw, you could use a Dremel. So if you're using a Dremel, you just take one of the cutting blades, and I'm just looking for my foot pedal there, and just kind of follow. Once they're cut down, you can, I just kind of sand them lightly, right? Once they're cut down into a rough little shape. I mean, that's not perfect. They don't have to be. Now, if you aren't able to cut anything other than just a square shape, then no, like I've got some that all I did was I sanded the corners to kind of round it off so it looks a little bit more like, almost like a barn roof, right? It just kind of rounds out. I also had some things that were like little triangle pieces that I glued onto a flat square. So don't freak out if you're not able to cut out the shapes. Just kind of create a shape that works for you. It could just be a square block, right? So you could use some of these, like from the dollar store. Let me see if I can grab one to show you. But, any of these, there we go, these tumbling tower blocks you could have. So I used cast off wood pieces, but look how good that would be. Just, cut it in half and you've got a little building. The size that you need is, now I'm thinking, why didn't I do that? But the size is really going to be dependent upon the size of your driftwood. If you're doing a big piece of driftwood, you're going to use like a big block of wood, but you might use just a little block of wood like this as your base. So you kind of think in terms of what you're doing. Now, what I'm going to do next is I have some, different soft colored, cottage colored paints, like apothecary and a white and a pale blue. And I am just going to take my paints, assuming they open. So I'm just going to take my paints and I am just going to paint some of my buildings. And I am going to paint, because I'm not freaking out about doing these buildings in major detail. This is just a cute, rough, fast little thing. I'm gonna paint the whole thing. I'm not gonna bother with the base, but I'm painting the roof the same color. And I'm gonna set them off to dry. Because I am gonna want to sand them. I'm gonna want to distress them. So, I'm gonna kind of give them a worn, by the sea kind of look. So I'm gonna get these painted, done 2, maybe do 3 in the apothecary. I'll do 2 or 3 in the blue and 2 in the white, and that way I've got a little bit of a mix that I could have some different colored buildings on different pieces of driftwood. So I'm gonna get those painted, and I'll sand them down and then come back at you to finish off the houses before we move on to some of the other decoration. This is gonna be so cute. Okay, hang in there, guys. Trust me on this. While our little houses are drying, what I have here is an assortment of buttons. And what I want to do is and these are just an assortment that I got from the dollar store. So, I mean, if you're a sewer, you have a big batch of buttons already. But these are just different little buttons, and some are teeny tiny, some are slightly bigger. And what I'm looking at doing is just cutting a slight length of, now this is an aluminum wire, so it's really easy to bend. You could use any kind of copper, silver, bronze. I've got black. You can use whatever color makes sense. When you see the whole project, you'll know where I'm going. Or you could use a natural stick if you wanted, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of layer a little bit of, see if my glue gun has been heating up long enough. There we go. So I'm just kind of stacking a little tiny button in the center of this. And then I'm going to turn it over, put a bit of glue kind of on the end of my wire, and I'm going to lay that in place and leave it face up so that it can just dry. So I'm just gonna make a couple of these, and really these are gonna be kind of big tree flowers, decoration kind of thing beside all of my houses. So I'm just getting those assembled, trailing glue, while I'm waiting to finish off my houses. And there's no rhyme or reason to these, you know, whatever colors you want, whatever shape. You're perfectly okay to do whatever suits you. And I'm not sure about size, but you know, I'm gonna go with a variety of sizes, and then when I go to assemble, then I have a number of them already made that could go together in whatever kind of look or configuration. I am also doing the stems all roughly the same size, with the idea that I can cut them down to create some variation when I determine which ones I'm going to use together. But at least then it gives me the flexibility to be able to pick and choose as I go with it. My little houses are pretty much dry, so the next step is just to do a little bit of rough sanding. So I just take a coarse piece of sandpaper, I just put it down, and I just rub these onto it. It's so much easier than trying to hold it up and doing the sanding. So I'm just kind of getting kind of a rough sand on it, just kind of aging them so that they're not perfect, right? And just rotating them on all sides. Now, when my houses are all sanded, I don't even seal them because they're just little decor pieces, and I like them having that rough kind of matte kind of finish to them. But you do what works for you. So the next step is I just want to do some little windows and doors. So I have a little white chalk paint marker, that I just kind of roughly put in the windows, because this is kind of a very wet kind of paint marker. I do the windows first and then come back to the rest. But you're just going to put in some little windows, outline them in black maybe, and put a little door. And I just have some permanent markers, and in essence, we just do that, right? Just to make them look kind of cute. The little white ones, obviously you're not adding white windows to them. We'll just outline that in black. But just do your windows, add a little door, and you're good to go. And I just do this one side, right? So just, you know, the side that's facing out for my little design, that's all I worry about, because my buttons all have a bad side too, right? So I just worry about creating one good side for these. Okay, a couple of little final steps with these houses. Once I've got them kind of outlined and painted with the markers, I do take just a quick swipe of sandpaper, and this is a 320, so it's pretty fine grit, but just because I don't want all those harsh lines, I want to soften it out to kind of match the weathered look of the little houses. Okay, the last thing I wish I'd brought my hammer over for. Now the last thing. I have these little, they're called cut tacks. They're kind of black and they've got a bit of a rectangular shaped head. And we are just gonna hammer them into the roof to make kind of like a little stylized chimney. And you can put this wherever you want. I mean, I have these little round guys, and you know, I might just put that straight down this, you know, off kilter, but straight down from the roof, and put them down. And so just add the little roof, and then they're done, and they're adorable. They are so cute. So I've got that little off-center one. I think it has to go in the top. Okay, so just add your little chimneys or not. This is just an extra little thing, but I like that little touch, and I like how it kind of balances off against the black stems that I've got going, but you know, these are your little houses. And you can tell, I mean, I'm going a little lower for you. I'm going pretty rustic on mine. I'm definitely getting kind of, you know, that rough little kind of cottage core vibe going on them, but because it kind of fits in with the fact that I'm going to be putting mine on driftwood, right? So there we go. Okay, now that you got your little houses, you're going to take your driftwood pieces and decide where and how you'd like your little houses displayed. So the idea is this: we're going to glue a house in place, and then we're going to screw some holes, and we're going to put our little stems in place beside it. So create a little bit of a vignette, a little bit of a picture, a seascape, a flower garden, whatever, whatever you want to look at it as. And then that's when you'll decide about, you know, not just the placement of them, but the height of them. And I have a drill with a bit that would allow my wire to fit in, and then we will glue them down in place, right? So let me see. So it's all about just kind of playing with your placement. So I'm going to play a bit here, get some of these lined up, and then I'll come back at you and we'll start assembling together. Okay, before I start drilling so that I have a better idea for sure of the hole placement, I want to get my little houses glued down. So I have them roughly in the right spot now. And I'm going to put hot glue on the base and then stick them in place. And I'll use some of that glue to kind of level them out because I'm not gluing onto a flat surface. We have all kinds of glue strands going everywhere here. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so this is where we're at so far. They're pretty cute. So, the next step. So I've decided these are the 3 for this. And maybe having these. So let me maybe drill down 2 holes here. So I have my holes, and now it's all a matter of deciding a height. So what I'm doing is kind of laying this on its side and then looking at maybe lining up my holes in a way that makes sense for me. Height-wise, and I'm just going to mark it with a pencil because I need to leave a little bit. I can't cut it right at this spot. Shoot, that didn't work. Okay, so I can't cut it right at that spot because my holes go in, right? So I need to cut it with extra depth for my hole. Here, and there's quite possibly an easier way to do this, but this works for me. And there, okay. And then I am just going to take my clippers roughly at that spot and cut them off. So, let me just do a quick check. Make this one a little bit shorter. And this one too. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a little bit of hot glue on the base of this. So just kind of roll it around a little bit. And then put it down into the hole and hold it straight up to dry. This one I just want to straighten out the wire a little bit. overhead fans going, so it's all kind of crazy windy. And there's my little house, my little vignette. Okay, those are cute. Okay. I like that. All right, I'm gonna finish off the other ones and then I'll come back and show them all to you. And I'll give you an idea of some other options, some other things that you can do. And see how that works for you. All right, let me show you these. These are just adorable little things. So here's this guy. So just a little single house, little double, community, and then the first one that we did. So you know, you guys, you could use like a piece of wood like this and whitewash it, sand it down. You could inscribe it, you know, stamp some saying on it or do a transfer, something like this. So, you know, it's cottage time or it's fun in the sun, you know, whatever. So you could do a saying and then drill your holes in, glue your little houses on. So you could do something like this. You could certainly do it with a big stone, maybe a paving stone if you have them. So don't get locked into, gee, it must be driftwood. I just knew I had the lake here and I went down to the park and I scooped up some pieces and I scooped up a bag of them. So I'm kind of thinking as long as I'm there, I might as well get some for other uses. These are just really sweet. So kind of a different craft, something a little bit different, kind of fun. I'll take a pic of them, but you know what? They're a lot of fun to make. So hope you give it a try. Let me know if you do. Certainly let me know what you think of them. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.